Well, hello there, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of Jazz and Coffee, coming to you from the studios of Jazz FM here in sunny England. Well, say sunny, it's actually going dark now. My guest today is Warren Keller, and yes, he's got a few interesting things to talk about, and his band Spontaneous Groovin Combustion. But we'll be starting off this week with Daniel Chai and Get Up and Go. Yes, the latest track from this chap from Singapore. Daniel Chai there. Now then, introducing Smooth Groovin Combustion, and going back about 4 years, one of the Well, joining us from his vacation home in Florida is Warren Keller. Good afternoon.
Hello, everybody. How are you, Dr. Glenn?
Well, all things considered, I'm not too bad.
Very good.
It's still winter here. It's still quite cold, 42 degrees, raining, dark, horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you,
Yep.
basking in the
Well,
sunshine.
well, well. It's exactly that way here today, so don't feel bad.
So tell me, and for the benefit of our listeners who haven't heard you before, um, spontaneous grooving combustion. Where on earth did you get such a mouthful of a title from?
Yeah, I remember my radio promoter when we were first getting started in 2019. He's like, "You sure now? Because once once we launch with this, it's a done deal." I was playing and I gotta say, I'm as much a rock and roller as a jazzer. But I was playing in a jazz duo, kind of a fusion duo in my Nashville days, and we were called Parallel 12. And I don't know, this play on spontaneous human combustion, spontaneous groovin combustion kind of popped in my head
Mm.
at one of our gigs, and I thought, if I ever do anything by myself again, I'll use that. So that's what happened.
Yeah, it's unusual.
Yeah, it
But then
is.
again, I mean, we've talked about this spontaneous human combustion before, haven't we? And
Maybe.
whether it is or it isn't.
Right, right. I think we're leaning toward not. Haven't heard much
Yeah,
about it in many
it's
a decade.
it's very suspicious, isn't it?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
well, whatever. Anyway, Spy versus Spy was one of your first ones. Um, I love the piece. I mean, how did it come about?
A lot. A lot of these just kind of materialize. I mean, for years I was a very lyrical writer. I spent
Mm,
10 years in Nashville, and writing modern commercial country, and you'd come up with these hooks and say, "Oh, that's a clever idea. Let me do something with that."
mm,
And 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 I never really wrote a lot of instrumental music until I really dove back into playing in like 2016, and then started releasing stuff in 2018. And so some of these melodies, kind of like I said, it's kind of just, some of them were just motivated on practicing the horn and coming up with a little lick, and that seemed a little bit different. But some of them were kind of fully formed, and like, where did that come from? Or sometimes it's like, oh, that doesn't even sound like me.
mm.
But this one definitely had that little bit of that 1960s, Spy, Man from Uncle programs
Yeah.
that I grew up with. So it's definitely got a little bit of that intrigue sound to it. So yeah.
So you're playing sax. What's your principal instrument? Is it the sax or the flute or something else?
No, saxophone has been my prime. Started on clarinet and played classical for years, and switched to saxophone. I've played Barry. I really like tenor, and I really love alto these days. It's kind of
Mm.
my main voice. I've never owned a soprano. Might be something I wouldn't mind fooling around with someday. But sax is my main thing. But I'm really pleased that my flute playing has continued to come along over the years, and strum a little bit of guitar. In a Nashville type of sense, I'm able to do just basic acoustic type strumming, a little bit of picking. But I started way too late on guitar to really make anything of it. But woodwindist, I think I made that word up, but
Mm.
I refer to myself as a woodwindist.
So you're saying that you spent some time in Nashville. Does that mean that you have a country leaning?
I Again, I really was very much a split between rock and funk and R&B as growing up, and was never really interested in country and western, let's say, as a younger person. But come around mid 80s, I'd say. You know, I was very into Americana type rock groups, you know, rock sounds, be it REM or Mellencamp. And I started writing again, almost automatic writing, you know, started writing very much in a country vein, more on the rock side, Eagles and that type of thing. And I just, you know, one thing just led to another. I mean, I've always, again, been very lyrical, very interested in writing, be it prose or lyrical poetry. And it just kind of happened. And I built up quite a catalog of a country rock type of thing, and almost had a deal in New York, out of New York City, but they were like, well, you know, you were a little bit over the line. Let's send you to Nashville. Well, I did move to Nashville. And, you know, I did the co-writing thing for almost 10 years, and some solo writing and lots of demos and really good high level stuff. Unfortunately, you know, although I had some holds by major artists, never got that cut that really opened the career up. And so, you know, basically left with my tail between my legs in about the end of 2000. And then really didn't do music almost at all until 2015. So that was a long gap. Yeah. But I loved, for the time that I worked in that genre, I loved it. I mean, I loved, I don't know if the vocal bands like Diamond Rio, Shenandoah, of course, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson. I loved that music at that time. I really like mid 80s to right about the time I left, about 2000, when it started to get, for me, a little you know, too commercial, too generic sounding, too rock sounding. You know, now here, at least in the States, rap and hip hop has permeated country, and it's all and whether you're listening to, you know, Nashville gospel, Christian, or it's all kind of got that same flavor. It's really not very very country anymore.
I noticed you do a lot of collaborations as well. Does that mean Jeff Lorber is in your team all the time, or is it just one-off?
Who did you say? Missed it.
Jeff Lorber.
Oh, you know, a lot of the early tracks were really essentially samples, because I was doing home production.
Right.
So Lorber's done a lot of stuff for some software companies where you can kind of structure solos based on his actual playing, although you're not really collaborating with the master. But you know, at some point, and it really was, I don't want to get too far ahead of your questions, but at some point it became clear that if I was going to really be competitive in the smooth jazz market, that I'd have to step up and turn to real producers and real players.
Yeah, I noticed that you've done a track with my good friend from Calgary, Brendan Rothwell.
Yeah, Brendan and I really became really good friends. I'll tell you, we were both working, as many people do, with SmoothJazz.com, Sandy Shore, and the wonderful VP of Artist Relations, who's since left, Sue Parker. Sue really kind of put us together. You know, she said, Brendan's really great in business matters, and why don't you have a chat with him? And so Brendan and I connected on FaceTime like this, and I think we really clicked as friends very early on. And he really offered collaboration, which I thought was very kind of him at that point, because he's a million streamer, and I was really just starting out. And so that was my tune, you know, and he went for it, and he just did an incredible job on that.
So we'll listen to it. All's Well. All's Well there, featuring Brendan Rothwell. Lovely video, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, really nice. It is. I've done a lot of them myself, and I think that's the one that I used an outside guy to put together. I gave him a few clips that I found I really liked, and he put the rest of it together. But
very dreamy.
Yeah, it's nice, and it was kind of that COVID time, and so it was an uplifting tune and a lot of nice scenes of people actually out without masks on.
Yeah. Well, of course, they're not telling you it was filmed 5 years ago. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, he did an amazing job on that. Brendan probably did 5 or 6 bass tracks. He's doing, a lower basic bass, and then he's doing a chorus of higher basses at the end, and the solo, of course. So, yeah, very nice. And that was the first one. I had self-produced it. Sounded really good, but my radio guy said, let's see what a producer can do. So we brought Blake Aaron in, and Blake just got Tony Moore on live drums,
right,
and then remixed, and so that was that definitely elevated it.
Yeah. So I've lost track. I was going somewhere. It's completely gone.
Sorry.
Completely gone. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I was going to say, Brendan, I quite like his style.
Yeah.
We almost met last year. I had to have a layover in Calgary, and of course that's where he lives. And after we came back, I mentioned on Facebook that, like we'd been in Calgary, and he said, "Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me?" So, damn, I forgot you lived there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to meeting in the flesh with him. Yeah, we've continued to do FaceTimes every 6 to 8 weeks, I guess, and really enjoy him a lot. And I'd love to meet him one day.
Good British guy, of course.
Yes, York. Yeah.
No, I was going to say I quite like the way that he plays, or the style that he plays. Normally, somebody comes along and says, "Oh, I play bass." I say, well, are you going to play the melody line? Yeah. Well, where's the balls to it? Because if you play the melody line, who's playing the bottom end? Yeah. And most tracks sound quite thin because they haven't got that low register. But that track it's actually well balanced. I mean, Blake's obviously done a marvelous job of it.
Yeah, he's a great producer. And Brendan, like me, has been, I think, through about everything. He's played in metal bands, and so he's as much rock roots as jazz roots, and very elegant stuff. That his album Destiny, the last one, just so elegant. In fact, after listening through to it maybe a second or a third time, I was emailing him about something, and I signed my email as the Britney Spears of smooth jazz, because I just felt I just felt so poppy, insignificantly poppy compared to his elegance,
It's funny. I was looking at a poster this morning. It was not on Facebook. I don't know where it was. Just somewhere on the internet, and it said Satan is traditionally linked to heavy metal rock music. For all you know, he might like smooth jazz.
That's right. Everybody needs a break, right? Even the devil.
Well, yeah, quite. I mean, I've started getting into other things as well on the radio show, because I've predominantly been smooth jazz for the last 9 years, in broadcasting at least. But we've had a little dip to the side in country. Modern country as opposed to Dolly Parton stuff,
right?
And that's proved to be quite popular as well.
That's cool.
as the jazz side. And I've recently done a few programs that are called Night Owls, where we're playing big band and stuff that you can't
Hmm.
or don't normally see,
Hmm.
and that is, I've been surprised how popular that's been with the emergence of two or three bands recently.
Hmm.
One of them here in the UK, um, the Powerful Pop Orchestra, where it's a 20-piece session band, and they take traditional pieces and jazz them up, and it's quite popular.
That's cool.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I don't have to tell you, good music is good music from any genre,
yeah,
and there has been great. There's everything from awful to mediocre to
yeah.
derivative to just great music, and
Mm.
yeah.
I think one of those great pieces is Double Juice that you did was it
Uh,
about 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
yeah, it sounds about right. Yep,
Yeah.
double deuces. Yep, and that was had some help from a really talented Italian producer. I'm hoping I can remember his name right now. um, he's a Facebook friend. I really like him, and haven't said it in a while, so I'm just not going to grab it. But yeah, and otherwise it was largely self-produced, and it was really good. And that one, boy, that one really started just screaming up the charts. I think it made it up to like about number 15 at SmoothJazz Global.
Wow.
And then it's kind of started to take
Yeah.
a quick denouement, but it really did well initially. But yeah, I love that one too, and that would be something I'd consider, even re-releasing or something at some point, just to try to get out to more people.
Well, let's have a listen to it.
Okay.
See how good it is. I'm Double juices there from spontaneous Groovin Combustion, and in his vacation home, I suppose his vacation home is Warren Keller, the guy responsible for producing and writing and even playing.
Thank you. Yeah. And I want to say Luigi Pistillo because it came to me as soon as it started. Yeah. Yeah. Luigi on guitar sounds good.
Yeah. It's like you say, it's got a good groove to it, a bit of a hook.
Yeah.
And what gives you the inspiration for these things?
Well, you said the magic word hook, and I think I used it before too, because as we talked about lyrical writing, and at least in that Nashville sense, needing that hook, that memorable chorus.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is for me. If I can't come, although there've been some that have kind of been reverse engineered, where the groove, it starts with a groove, and then eventually I come up with the line. But more times than not, it's coming up with that hook. I really like very memorable, very, in that sense, I'm very pop oriented. Everybody loves a good jam, but if I can't walk away humming it, whistling it, singing it, or remember how it went, it doesn't really need to be a record. It could easily just be a session, a jam session or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's important to have, the hook, if you like. If you can't whistle it or hum it away 10 minutes after you heard it, it didn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, that's it. And yet we could name some, very successful artists that don't necessarily do that. It's more just about the groove and the overall sound, and that's okay too.
Well, one of my guests a few weeks ago was mentioning that when they're creating a song, they start with the rhythm, or a drum pattern, or a loop or whatever, and then work it from there. I mean, what do you start with, the melody line?
Well, again, I mean that has happened. I'm more oriented to at least discovering the melody line and then saying, okay, let's build a track around that. But I can remember the very first single I did with Spontaneous was Kicking It, and that I didn't actually have that hook until way later, until the track was pretty much done, and then it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Whatever.
So you're obviously a successful band. Are you gigging a lot?
I'm not able to gig. I'm fortunate enough to have a 4-piece rock and roll band that I love playing with, and I get to do a lot of funky stylings and stuff within the scope of rock. But as far as jazz, it's very difficult for me. I'm not on the West Coast. I'm not in I'm not in a pocket where I've got a lot of musicians available to me. There actually are some really good straight ahead jazz players in my area, but I got there later at a time where these folks were playing together for years, knowing each other for years, and there really just didn't seem to be a place for me to slip in there. So recording became my voice and my way to get out. But I would love to open for a larger act at some point, even just doing a short set of these tunes. But it would really be a bit of an effort, to find the right people, a music director that could really coordinate a good rhythm section, and that would be great, and that would be a goal. But for me, ultimately, it's about recording and the records.
No, I mean, there's obviously a lot of people out there like yourselves who can do it in the studio but can't do it live.
Right.
Then again, there are people that do it live very, very well, but can't work a studio. It's being able to follow that click track. It's not everybody has that discipline. I know. All right, I'm a session keyboard player, but I hate click tracks. I like to do it live. Obviously I can do it, but but I don't like it because it's too regimented.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to be in the forefront, obviously leading the band, and if I go somewhere, I expect my people to come with me. You know, and you can't do that when you're in a studio. Well,
Right.
not as easily anyway.
And especially,
Terry Woolman, who was on a few weeks
yeah,
ago, he did a track. Oh, can't for the life of me think what it's called. Um, but they did it live and they enjoyed it so much. They said, "Well, let's lay it down," and they managed to get all the same musicians in the same place at the same time, which is quite unusual,
yeah,
and put it together. But the ambience of a recording isn't as thick, if you like, as obviously a live performance.
yeah. I had a friend, a non-musician, say to me, and his daughter's a good musician, but more in in an acoustic fiddle, guitar, folk
Mm,
type of way. And he said something to the effect that my music is quote unquote is perfect, and that may not always be a compliment, but there is in
mm,
smooth jazz. It's a lot of it's very engineered, very tight, very clean, very perfectly produced. It's not going to be accused of garage music.
yeah, yeah. It's I think it's difficult finding a digital platform um, that still comes out sounding um, ambient.
Yeah, the warmth of analog.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And of course, today, we mentioned COVID. Um,
Mm,
it became very much the habit of musicians wanting to continue to make music, working in their own home studios and doing collaborations. Just, hey,
mm,
here's my wave file, and so a lot of it doesn't have the luxury of people
mm.
hanging out together and playing together.
Yeah, I think Band in a Box has got a lot to answer for.
You you
Uh,
said you said what
ba-
about Ben?
Band in a Box or Band in a Garage or whatever, where you're taking loops from various,
Right.
like you were saying with Jeff Lorber, you can create his style,
Yeah,
same as you can do with Jimmy
yeah,
Smith's style or Tony Moore or half a dozen other people, where you're getting that professionalism without them being there.
right. And for some of us, it's a godsend because time's money, as we know. Studios can
Yeah.
be expensive, and again, I very very grateful for modern technology. A lot of people might rag on it, but for me, it gave me a voice and was able to release the first 5 singles, essentially
Mm,
on my own.
mm. Now, the last track that we had from you, it's probably about a year ago, was Name Dropper. Interesting name, interesting piece, interesting hook. What can you tell us about it?
Well, the title is dedicated to myself because I'm a terrible name dropper. I I am constantly, I've been kicking since I started in music. I've been constantly kicking myself in the back, like, why did you say that again?
Yeah.
Why did you mention that you met him or that you opened for them or you play? I hate it. But
Mm,
that's where the title came from, and I don't remember a lot of the genesis of that. It was a flute oriented tune.
mm-hmm.
I've mixed flute in here and there and a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, but that one was flute driven, and that was again a Blake co-write and production. And,
Mm-hmm.
and again, Tony on drums and Tating Katindig on piano and Daryl Williams on bass.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it comes together. Typically I'll have the hook. And then when I get with somebody like Blake, that co-write will bring a sub hook in. That's another tasty morsel that I didn't think of, you know.
And you're certainly dropping the names in that one, aren't you?
Yeah, like I said, yeah. I mean, you know, I mentioned the Nashville days, and I'm one of those pattern makers, right, where I'll spot a famous face from 100 feet away, and Nashville was a jamboree for that. You know, I worked blocks off of Music Row, and during the day, and I would meet people on a regular basis, and then in my New York days, rock and roll. You know, I was right there in 1979, 80 and playing CBGBs and Max's Kansas City, Danceteria, Hurrah. So, you know, Bowie and you know, Benatar and Blondie. I mean, they were all around, and yeah, it was exciting times. So unfortunately, I think I was a combination of too shy and also had the mistaken belief that I would get there too. So I didn't tend to jump on people and try to start conversations.
Yeah, I was doing straight up jazz in those days.
Say that again.
I was doing straight up jazz in those days.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. That's cool.
It's funny how things work. So name dropper. Let's have a listen to this one. I notice you're bopping around to that one a bit.
Yeah, good to the last drop.
Absolutely. Now, the whole point of you being on the show today, I think, is to promote the new track, the spontaneity. I suppose spontaneity goes with smooth grooving and that one. Is this something that came about spontaneously, or was it a long planned track? Or is it just a case of, well, it's a year since we've done something, let's throw something out?
Well, yeah, again, from a financial standpoint, not having that live performance money to help support the habit, relying on streams and such to try to get close to breaking even, right? And it'd been a year, and I really wanted to get something out, and that had been around for a while, probably every bit of 6 months. And Blake Aaron, to me, is just a phenomenal producer. But I kind of, I knew what it was to work together, and I just started looking around a little bit and stumbled upon Jeff Carruthers. And he is a name that a lot of people actually don't know, but he is, multiple hit producer for Boney James and for Paul Brown and Huge Groove. So great producer, great guitarist. And so kind of the same process. We got a hold of Spontaneity. I had the main hook. He came up with a phenomenal brass arrangement for a brass section and did the production, and actually dropping names, Huge Groove, Mr. Steve Grove did the mastering on the single.
He's very, very good. He's Huge.
Yeah, he's a tremendous player. Yeah, so he's been doing a lot of mastering and some production. Got burned out on as much traveling and performing as he was doing, and so he's been doing quite a bit of that. And so I think overall came out really good. I mean, Jeff Carruthers, he worked me pretty hard. I mean, not that Blake let me slouch either, but Jeff really pushed me, and ultimately, I think it's a pretty great record.
I think this is one of the reasons that you employ a producer to give you that extra push, if you like, or keep the consistency there, or get things done on time. And I think Blake's done, or he's certainly done a wonderful job for you, as he does for most of the people as well. And as you say, Huge is getting into producing a lot more as well, and appearing as collaboration on a lot of tracks. I was surprised to see him playing with Mindy Bear, and giving her a bit of a push as well. I don't think he's producing her as yet, but I don't think it'll be long. To get his influence into.
Yeah, they're both terrific, and really, how many people in this genre aren't terrific? So much good playing and good production and all. This one, Spontaneity, has Eric L. Valentine on drums, and so he's another great guy that backs people up, and Cornelius Mims on bass, and Jeff Carruthers on guitar and me on alto.
Okay, so Spontaneity it is. And there it is, spontaneity from whatever they called.
Spontaneous.
That's the one, spontaneous Groovin Combustion. And available in all the shops, I take it. The Amazons and Deezers and Twitters and God knows what.
Yeah, good old Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and I should have provided the link. We have a hub that you can go to your favorite DSP from. It's ffm.to/spontaneity. We also have a 4-song EP that we did with Spontaneity and the previous 3 radio singles. So we did a 4-song.
Oh, super
EP. Yeah.
Oh, you have to drop me the link, and I'll stick it on my Facebook page for you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So that's it. So what's next?
Well, really riding this out to see how it does with the kind broadcasters like yourself out there at radio and also streaming, and hopefully it gets where it needs to go, and be nice if we could swing doing something earlier than a year from now.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get you promoted and get everybody to hear all about it.
Yep.
With that, time's up. We're at the witching hour, and thank you very much, Warren, for being my guest today.
Thank you so much. We always appreciate chatting with you.
It's a pleasure. So, until next time, au revoir. Take care now.
You too. Thank you.
And we'll carry on with our final track of the day, which will be, when I can find it, it's gone, Roberto Rosticelli and his latest piece. You're going to enjoy this one. was Rotticelli there, and it's all hit. Thanks very much to our special guest today, Warren, and yeah, very interesting stories about spontaneous grooving combustion and the latest track, Spontaneity. And that, I'm afraid, is it. It's time for this. No, it's not. It's time for this.